Hey guys, my name is Gabby and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about something that was on my mind when I was on a run this morning. So this morning I decided to go for a run and I couldn't stop thinking about something. And I couldn't stop thinking about it because it's been something on my mind probably for the last year or so, but especially with the current events and the virus, it's been even more dominant in my mind. And because I can't stop thinking about it and I think it's worth sharing and worth talking to you about, I wanted to make a little video out of it. And that is our words and the power that our words have, right? I've been reading a lot of Don Miguel Ruiz's work, and one of my favorite books is The Four Agreements. And one of the agreements that he talks about in the book is being impeccable with our word. And he has a whole chapter where he talks about words and how words influence our life, how our words influence other people and affect other people. And I don't know if it was him who said this, or I think it might have been another author. Somebody said something related to, are your words poison or are they medicine? And the reason why I've been thinking so much about this and in relation to the current events with the coronavirus is because, I was sitting here thinking, man, like it's crazy everything that's happening in the world right now, countries shutting down, quarantine, like having to stay indoors, social distancing. And I was thinking how powerful something that is invisible can be, right? We can't see the virus with our naked eye. We might pass a person who has it and they might not know it, they have it, we might not know it, but it just shows how connected we are and how something that we don't really have any control over can affect us, right? And again, I don't want to talk about that subject, but it's sort of like a parallel line why I started thinking about words, because I was thinking, man, like our words are one of our greatest powers, right? The way we communicate and what we say. And you can't really see the words, but you also can't see the damage that it might cause or the healing that it might produce or the healing that it might assist in. And I hope I'm making sense. Honestly, I feel like I'm just trying to make sense of everything that's in my mind and speak it. And sometimes that's a little bit difficult because everything makes sense in your mind, but then you try to like speak it out or write it out and it just like doesn't make any sense. So I hope you're following me. But the reason I started thinking about the power of our words was because I realize how right now people are coming together, right? People are taking care of themselves, and it's not so much about us and us getting infected, especially people who have a strong immune system and they're younger and they're healthy, but it's also understanding that we might affect another person who is weaker, right? So that's why we need to take some precautions. And it made me think about words was because so often we say hurtful things or negative things, disempower things to ourselves, but also a lot of times to others people, especially people who are close to us, and we don't think about the damage that it might cause. Like it doesn't even like cross our minds, right? Like you call somebody an idiot, you say somebody, oh yeah, whatever, you're never gonna make this happen, why even try, why even bother? You call somebody fat, you tell somebody that they're ridiculous or stupid and they shouldn't go after their dreams, and you don't think much of it because you're like, oh, whatever, it's my words, I say what I want, right? Like freedom of speech, and you start blurting out all these things, but you have no idea the effect, the power that your words carry, and how it might affect long term the other person, right? And thinking about it in terms of like energy, and is it like heavy dark energy? Are you sort of like creating disharmony in another person with your words, or are you using your words to help another and heal another? And one of the examples that pops into my head is when I was like 10 or 11, there was this girl. I've shared, I think, the story a few times before, but there was this girl, and she picked up like this journal that I had, sort of like a diary, and in the diary I had written that I wanted to be a singer because I've always loved singing. I went to musical academy for singing. Singing was my life. I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. So she opened my diary and she read this entry that I wrote about how much I want to be a singer, and she started laughing. And then she asked me, she was like, "You're joking, right?" And she said it with such a hurtful tone, right? She said it as if she was, I can't even explain it, but it was very, very hurtful. And I didn't know how to react. And I said, yeah, totally. So her words affected me, right? It seeped into my body and started spreading, and I didn't even think about it until I started taking voice lessons again, not this past summer, but the summer before that. And I sometimes would break down crying in front of my teacher, and she would be like, "Why are you crying?" And I'd be like, "I don't think it sounds great. I don't think I should be singing." And she was so confused because she's like, "What are you talking about? Like, you sound great. Like, what do you mean you sound bad?" And the craziest thing is that something that a girl said to me 12 or 13 years ago is still in my mind. And I take that one person's, that one child's, because she was a child and I was a child, this child said something to me in such a degrading way, I guess I could say, that was so shameful for me and so painful that I still carry within me 12 or 13 years later. And I understand how ridiculous it is. But honestly, I feel like for me, that's the greatest example, is that sometimes we just say stuff without thinking and we think it's not going to affect other people when actually it does. And also, you know, with the virus and everything happening, with this powerful thing that you can't even see and how it can really do serious harm to you. Again, it makes me think about the harm that we do to each other on a daily basis without even thinking of how it's going to affect another and what kind of a long-term effect it might have. Because right now, to be honest, there are so many self-reflection moments where I was thinking about the words, you know, on my run, and I was thinking about the people who have said hurtful things to me that I still think about years later, and that still affect me and my behavior and the way I think about myself for such a long time. But it also made me think about me and how I have said hurtful things, especially to the people whom I said that I love, whether it's getting super snappy or being like, "Oh yeah, like, how dare you do this? That's stupid. You shouldn't be doing this. Why are you doing it like that?" And just maybe even like putting down somebody. But honestly, it's like this moment in time for me is such a representation for us to wake up as a collective, right? To take care of one another, but also understand that we are always affecting somebody else, even when we think we aren't. Even random acts of kindness. I remember sitting in a cafe last summer, and there was a woman coming with a stroller, and because the door was like opening inside, she would have had to like go around, and it would have been really complicated for her to open the door and get the stroller out. And as this woman was approaching with her stroller, this man, like out of nowhere, stood up, came to the door, opened the door, went outside, and the woman came out, and she was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much." And that inspired me so much, because that man was like on his laptop doing whatever, working, but he saw this woman with a stroller approaching, and he stood up and, you know, he opened the door for her. And it impacted me in such a way that he definitely doesn't know, because he was a complete stranger to me. But like the week after that, I was at the same cafe, and there were two women with strollers at the back of the cafe, and I saw how they were beginning to approach the door because they were exiting. And I was reading a book or I was doing something, and I stood up, I walked around the table, and I opened the door for them in anticipation that I knew they had to leave. And both of them left, and they looked at me and they said, "Thank you so much. Like, we really, really appreciate it." And they were really taken aback. And you can see the power of a random act of kindness that somebody did, that they didn't even know that I saw it, but the way it impacted me. So I saw somebody do something good and it inspired me. And then the next week when I was faced with the same situation, I actually, you know, sort of like passed on that act of kindness. And that's, I feel like right now what we are waking up to, right? Realizing that we have an impact on other people and we affect other people, even if we don't think about it. You know, when we are kind, when we're just kind, it doesn't have to be like specifically, oh, I need to go out and be kind to this one person or, you know, to this group of people. When you are just practicing kindness as a whole, you never know who's going to see it from the outside and be inspired by that and be affected by that. And as I said, more importantly, thinking about the words and how we speak to other people and how also we speak to ourselves, but especially to other people. Because, man, like, words truly can either heal somebody or it can damage somebody. And I right now can think of instances where I have said something hurtful to other people, and oh my God, I pray to God hoping that the people have forgiven me or they still don't carry it within them. But I also know that there are people who have said things to me that have been really hurtful, perhaps even without thinking, or like, oh, trying to make a joke or just being a little bit degrading because, I don't know, people do that, and how I still carry that within me as well. So I think this is just a moment right now to really understand that we are a part of a collective. And whether it's the coronavirus or whether it's the way we talk, the way we show up in the world, we're all affected by it. It's like this ecosystem. It's this collective consciousness. Doesn't have to be even consciousness. Just like as a collective, as a nation, as a planet, as a population, we're always being affected by others, and we're also affecting others. So honestly, that's just like my little 2 cents that I wanted to contribute to you today and talk to you about something that's been really on my mind today, this morning as I was on my on the run. And I hope you're staying healthy. I hope you're taking care of yourselves. I hope you're washing your hands. Don't forget to wash your hands. And yeah, it's a moment for really deep reflection and just a moment for understanding and focusing on the things that really matter, and practicing kindness and being hopeful and loving. And yes, it's a crazy situation and there's a lot of fear and anxiety, but just understand that fear and anxiety also has a really strong toll on your body and on your mental health. So just take care of yourselves. Yeah, that's all I wanted to share with you today. And I'm sending you lots of health, love, and light. And I will see you next week. Bye.